We're back to the Told-Education Celebrity Show on the Told-Education Network, TotalTutor.net for more information. The last couple weeks, I've been highlighting Grammy Award winners. And thanks to my producer, Marcus Reynolds, shout out to Marcus, we continue this process. So the Beach Lifestyle Celebrity segment has another Grammy Award winner, not just nominee, but winner. So I want to welcome to the program Julian Alexander. Julian, thanks for calling.
No problem. Thank you for having me.
We're excited to talk to you again because it's so interesting to look at everyone's career and how they get something like a Grammy, because not everyone wins one, so it must have been an absolute honor. So we'll get to that. But Julian, tell us basically your background and the story all the way up to winning your Grammy. So tell us specifically how you got involved in art direction.
So as a kid, I always loved music, and I wanted to find a way to participate in the music process, but I could not, I don't rap, I don't sing, I don't produce, I don't play an instrument. So I couldn't really figure that out, but music was always a passion of mine. And at a point, after I finished high school, I decided to, go to college for liberal arts because I hadn't yet figured out what I wanted to do. And I took a drawing class, and in that drawing class, I had a teacher who would give us assignments, and I would approach them a little bit differently. And she felt like I would be good at graphic design. Up until that point, I never knew what it was, but she talked to me about it. She suggested that I pursue graphic design and offered to help me build a portfolio. I took her up on that, and shortly the next year, I got accepted to School of Visual Arts in New York City. I moved to New York from Connecticut, where I'm originally from, and I started studying graphic design. And very early on, I decided that I wanted to do album covers, and that became my main area of focus. And my first internships that I got were at record labels. I started with an internship at Def Jam Records and worked with the art department there. And then it went on to, from there I went to Atlantic Records and had a assistant designer position or assistant art director. I forget exactly what the title was, but I was able to start establishing myself working within the music industry. And, the more experience I got, the more it just reinforced that was my passion and drove me to keep going. And ultimately, I landed at Sony Records, where I was able to work over the years on some really incredible projects, which led me up to being assigned to work on the complete Jack Johnson sessions by Miles Davis, which is the package that I won a Grammy for.
And it's amazing how you get involved in this, Julian. And I got to step back for a second and look at this. Why did you decide albums? Because graphic designers could do many different things in their career. But why? Is it because you love music?
It's because I love music. It's because, and I fell in love with. I was born in the mid '70s, and part of my childhood involved me going through my father's vinyl collection and spending just hours on end looking at these pictures of people. And just to, when I got old enough to realize that, all of that stuff seemed very anonymous to me. It just kind of came from nowhere. And then I started realizing, there's people who do that, and that's a job, and I could do that. It just seemed more appealing to me at the time than some of the other design opportunities that existed. There were things that felt functional. There's a lot of design that it's really about practicality. But to me, I looked at album cover art as a way to express something and to create your own art that was paired with another piece of art that reached very far and was able to have a huge impact. And that's one of the things that I, to this day, appreciate about the artwork that I've done for albums. I love to travel, and sometimes I'm in different countries. I find myself in places where I might be the only person who speaks English, but I can look around and see something that I've done at times. So to be able to find a medium that has such reach and ties into something that I have a great passion for, it held a great allure for me.
It sounds like it. And again, you're doing something you're passionate about, which is music, and helping artists really portray what type of music. And I guess working with Jack Johnson for this specific project was huge because, again, it really it highlighted, like you said, Miles Davis, who I'm sure is you a mentor in certain ways, or a big fan. You were a big fan of Miles Davis and also Jack Johnson by getting involved in this, right?
Well, Jack Johnson, the Jack Johnson that this album package referred to was the boxer, and
okay.
So to be able to work on this Miles Davis project, it was a huge. It scared me. I was very scared to approach it because Miles had. He had no input, obviously, because this album came out in 2003, and he was long deceased by that time. But he's an artist who has a huge reputation for his ability, his creative vision, and his style. And I didn't want to be the guy to come along and kind of mess it up, And also, it was an interesting challenge because most artists that I work with, I have some opportunity to have dialogue with them, and we get a sense of what it is they're trying to convey with the music, and I try and complement that visually. Now, this album had been released decades before I had even worked on this packaging, and really what this album was it was an opportunity for the label to put out some of the sessions that were recorded and were not originally released. So it was kind of new for the fans, and we wanted to give them something fresh. And my way of preparing for it was to read his autobiography to get a sense of who he was and try and get a sense of his personality so I could try and bring that through with the visuals, and luckily it worked out well, and there was a sense of me. There was added pressure because the CD that I worked on that box set was a part of a series, and some of the other ones that were released did win Grammys for art direction as well. So that was a little bit of an added pressure because I wanted to make sure that I didn't want to drop the ball.
So you put all that work in, and you finally get nominated, and then you go to the Grammys. Tell us the story of going to the Grammys, because I'm sure that it was just an absolute whirlwind. It was unbelievable.
It was. To this day, I've never watched the Grammys in their entirety. But just to be nominated was a huge thing for me, and the day that the nominations came out, I did not watch them. And I kind of, I was sitting in my office, and a coworker came in, and he was like, "How does it feel?" And I'm like, "How does what feel?" And he said, he told me that I had gotten nominated. So the first thing I did, I picked up the phone, I called my mother and told her, and then I called my girlfriend, who is now my wife, and so we shared that. And the one thing that I wanted to do was to make sure that my parents and my wife were in LA with me to take that event in. So we all got our tickets situated, and when we went to LA, we went to the Grammys, and we got, you kind of learn a little bit about how the process goes. I didn't know until maybe 2 or 3 years before I won a Grammy that you could even win a Grammy for art direction. So when we got to LA, you quickly, or leading up to going, you quickly learn that there are 2 Grammy ceremonies. There's the pre-televised session, and then there's the televised event. The session the category that I won in was part of the pre-televised event. So we went, we took our seats. It was at the Staples Center in LA. It was a great experience. You get to see many of the artists that we're familiar with who make great contributions in the world of music. And, I kind of psyched myself up. I was just like, it's great to just be here. Whether I win or not doesn't matter. And, I was happy to be there. And I thought about, I gave a little bit of thought to what I would say if I did win. But I still didn't know until that moment. And when I heard my name, I was kind of in shock. And it just so happened that I didn't sit that close to the stage, and I was, trying to focus on keeping my cool and getting up there in one piece. So it took me a little bit of a time to get to the stage, but once I got there, that's when it really connected. And then I received the award. I saw some friends who I knew who were nominated in the same category afterwards, and we congratulated each other and just tried to take in the moment. And then you kind of get taken behind the scenes and experience some things that the public isn't immediately privy to. Like, you get your official Grammy portrait, you're taken back. I was photographed by Danny Clinch, who's an amazing photographer who I had worked with previously and never really expected to be the subject of one of his photos, but that happened. You get, photographed with your award. You're walked through a couple of photo pits where people get an opportunity, people take pictures of the winners. You get this red carpet experience where you're walking and there's a line of paparazzi who take photos. You also are walked back to an Associated Press area where they ask questions, and that's where kind of a lot of the clips come through of winners speaking on their wins. And I think everyone gets that treatment, but all of those things don't really become public things. They don't always find their way out into the world because people are more interested in seeing say a Beyonce than seeing me talking about winning. But as a winner, you still get that experience. So we went through those steps, and then, slightly a little later in the evening, we went over to the televised event, which was, a great experience as well to be in the audience for what the folks at home get to see on TV.
Wow, so I didn't know that there were two events, one that's just kind of for the artists and the other one for the fans and everyone together, where it's the more of a fast, hurry-up quickness, while the other stuff is a lot of to do things to really honor you. And that's
because there are so many categories that people win in. There's best liner notes, there's best folk album, there's so many, I don't know the number, but I'm sure there are over 100 Grammys given each year. And, it's too much to fit into the televised ceremony, so they split it up into two events, which happened on the same day.
Well, then that's cool, and then you got to be at the live event as well and saw all that. So, Julian, basically, do you think you're going to get another Grammy? Do you think you have an opportunity?
I don't know. A lot of, in the years since, I've continued to work in music, but a lot of my work is shifting. I maintain the same passion for music. I maintain the same passion for designing within music. But at this point, I am also very focused on just doing the best design work that I can. And as an artist, trying to, move into different directions. So I'm really trying to expand myself. And I think that there's a small pool of, there's always opportunities to do great work, but I think that there's a narrower pool of artists who you can work for, whose work will garnish the attention of the Recording Academy. So, I'm happy. I'm incredibly grateful to have received one. If I get another one, I'll still continue to do the same level of work. Whether I get another one or not remains to be seen.
All right, well, fantastic, Julian. Where can we find information on you, learn more about you, and check you out?
I have a website, which is SlangInc.com. I'm also on Instagram, where I post some of my inspiration that I come across or work that I've done. I'm on Twitter as well, and both of those are at Slang Inc. And that's where you can keep up with me and see what I'm up to.
Well, Julian, great story. You're teaching me more and more about what happens at the Grammys. I felt like I was there, and I think that's so cool. And feel your passion because, again, you see that a Grammy is something that should be honored, should be something that you should never forget that story. And I appreciate you coming on the program to talk about that story. And I learned more about how the Grammys work. So thanks for calling, Julian.
Thank you for having me.
All right,
Have
take care.
Great day.
You too. You're listening to Total Education Celebrity Show, and we'll be back in just a moment.